Hello, Montana. I'm Daniel Larson, and I'm running for U.S. Senate. Trying to go around and capture what Montana voters truly care about so I can represent them when I get to the United States Senate. The theme of my campaign is STOP, which stands for See the Other Perspective. I want to do this campaign different. I want it to stay small. I want it to be focused on who I am as a person. If you have anything you're concerned about, reach out. Let's have a conversation. All right, good morning, everybody. I'm Daniel Larson, candidate for U.S. Senate, running against Steve Daines for the June 2nd primary nomination in the Republican Party. And so I'm here talking to Curran. Curran lives up in Kalispell, right?
Actually, Whitefish.
Whitefish?
Yeah.
And I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name's Curran Edland. I'm from Whitefish. I've lived here my whole life. Went to school over in Pittsburgh for 4 years, but moved back because I miss the mountains, basically, is the biggest thing. And now I'm working a little construction here in Whitefish. Obviously slowed down with the quarantine and everything, but
so this is the 3rd of April, because this moment will probably be looked back on, just in different steps, and it's kind of crazy how this whole thing has escalated. But
definitely. Yeah.
So are any financial hardships that you've suffered already, or?
I've been able to keep a very kind of, I wouldn't say part-time, but we're moseying through a personal gig. So my situation's probably better than others for sure. I'm not feeling it yet, but I expect to maybe as this moves forward.
Do you have health insurance?
I do. Medicaid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were saying a couple of issues that you're passionate about. Did you want to start with? So maybe have you ever voted for a Republican candidate before?
I have not yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Kind of my only public election that presidential election that I voted for is actually this last one.
Oh, okay. And so you voted for Clinton?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So you've never voted in a primary, but so how do you feel about politics currently?
I don't know, kind of, I've followed it here and there, and my grandpa's very political and my parents are, but they're on opposite spectrum. So I've got a good view of both sides for sure. So I try to keep an open mind when it comes to a lot of things. My biggest kind of disappointment with the political system right now comes, post Citizens United, and kind of the ability to put millions and millions of dollars towards one candidate. It kind of defeats the whole purpose of having a representative democracy, honestly.
Yeah. And that was my opinion. Coming into this race is just, looking at it 10,000 foot and just being like, well, Citizens United was a major loss for democracy. And, now you have all these political voices, but even within as I've been stepping through it, even within the normal process and the things that wouldn't even be touched by Citizens United, I'm seeing that there's no reasonable way that our existing establishment candidates can have an independent voice to solve some of these problems, because they're definitely heavily funded by the people with the interests. So
married to the party.
It's definitely been a learning process for me as well. I'm like, oh wow, our democracy needs to change a little bit.
Yeah, you gotta step into line in order to have any sort of success on a national level.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So you said there's a couple of diverse opinions within your family. Any arguments around the table or anything on any particular issues?
Oh yeah. Maybe we've gotten better at lowering that, or I don't know, dialing it back a little. In recent years, but a couple years ago, just having Thanksgiving dinners and stuff. I'm sure it happens in every family for sure.
Yeah, that's my guess. My guess is there's a lot of people that are getting pretty frustrated with each other and no longer seeing eye to eye.
I think in general, people vote their priorities. So, you have maybe someone like my parents who their mind is with a lot of the social programs. They see the benefit in these programs on a large scale because, you know, you want to help out the less, I don't know, like the less fortunate, basically the people that got dealt a different hand, you know, coming from the womb. And so they have a lot of hope, and they think those, you know, that money is being used in the best way possible. That maybe they trust the government a little more, a bigger government. And then you have people like, you know, my grandpa who's on the other side and sees a lot of these like regulations and these handouts and whatever it is as, you know, doing the opposite, kind of like propping up a social group that's, you know, not gonna, you know, lace up their bootstraps and do the work themselves. So it's just like being able to see both kind of sides of that situation has been good for me as a person and as like developing a political opinion and all that kind of thing, which has been nice. And so I feel, and, you know, I have my biases for sure. I feel like you can see, you know, some, you know, both sides of the spectrum in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
So do you have a choice for presidential candidate?
God, I mean, honestly, at this point, I'm a not Trumper.
Yeah. So you're within that 60-70% of the electorate that might be working up there. So
yeah, I mean, if I'm going to be completely honest, yeah, that's my biggest. I'm gonna leave it at that because that's my biggest.
Yeah. I didn't mean to touch on a hot button. I just kind of wanted to get a feel for how you were feeling. So I think that what I'm trying to do is establish a campaign that would allow, like, sort of what you were talking about with your grandfather and, you know, the other voices that think that we have a responsibility to take care of people and kind of combine them, you know, and say that the government is not very good at doing certain things. And we don't need bigger government solves, but we do need to solve these issues. And hopefully that resonates.
Yeah, no, I think that would for sure.
So you wanted to talk about energy. It's something you're pretty passionate about.
Well, just climate change in general. It's something that I'll have to deal with more than you know.
Sure.
70-year-old, 80-year-old people in office right now.
So, are you saying that there's some people that may not be interested in future generations? Is that what you're calling out? Yeah,
painfully apparent.
Maybe a short-term outlook. Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate because, okay, if you're looking at renewable energy, it's a long-term. Historically, it's been a long-term kind of investment in your future. You're going to pay more now so you can pay less later, or you can generate more later.
Right.
Like, it's kind of unfortunate. A lot of, you know, companies focus on that bottom line. A lot of like, you know, oil and gas companies they're focused on that quota. So it's hard for them to see the benefits of not making money right away. Even though it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of dumb to me. I don't know. That's my personal opinion. But when you look at like a lot of policies that prop up oil and gas, and you look at, you know, how there's certain states that are, you know, I mean, I think Trump recently opened up the Arctic refuge to oil and gas drilling on a certain level. And it's just like, there are other ways to do this that will be beneficial to the planet in the long run. And if we're really focusing on being, you know, a long-term species, then maybe we should like consider that that's a, you know, smarter option when they're
And I saw it. So I had opinions and stuff, but as I've been going through issues, there's a couple of things that I've discovered that it's like, wow, I didn't really understand how bad it was. So I knew that the anti-climate change conversation was really sort of corporate controlled and perpetuated by some of these voices in petrochemicals, and you know, the existing energy sector definitely has a lot of political weight, and I think that was changing the conversation a little bit. So I remember being in a college lecture, you know, 20 years ago, and you know, walking out, you know, after just, you know, my first introduction to really climate science, and I was like, wow, this is something I'm gonna have to deal with in my lifetime.
Mhm.
And then now that I'm stepping through the issue, like Northwest Energy, one of the Montana monopolies, so the energy distribution in the state, their 20-year plan doesn't include any renewables right now. So that
It's
was very concerning for me. I'm like,
yeah,
how do you have a 20-year outlook in the existing environment when we're already seeing, we already have climate refugees, we already have, effects of at least crop loss and some migration, and
yep,
you don't have a 20-year outlook that includes any of these models. So right now they're going from they're transitioning from coal, and they're proposing to just go to natural gas power generation. So I found some pretty. I've started a thorium caucus with a couple of folks that are running for office. I think that technology might be pretty groundbreaking, but definitely I think supporting a renewable energy future is essential. It's critical at this point. So I think that I would like to drive the conversation. Let's get out of the politics. Let's kick the money out of the conversation and make some reasonable decisions before it's too late.
yeah. No, I agree. And it's kind of a weird subject because a lot of the people that, yeah, I mean, climate change is a social justice issue as well, because a lot of these struggling nations and economies, maybe in warmer tropical areas, are going to see effects that are not going to be seen by somebody that can move inland to Montana and get out from a lot of the major effects. Although even up here, it's like forest fires are a huge issue, and if we don't try to mitigate some of that risk, we could have a paradise in Montana, like, kind of thing. And it's just
So, well, and we have a high water inventory too, but I think if our Republican legislators are sitting there denying climate change, then we're not making reasonable decisions on forest management, some of our agricultural sector opportunities. I think we're missing an opportunity for some real economic development in our rural areas that really need economic development. So
that's very true. Yeah.
So that kind of you wanted to talk about some of the I call it corporate politics, but politics and money and things like that, right?
Yeah. I am disappointed, and it happens on both sides, and it's kind of the I don't know, the problems of having a two-party system, maybe, in a lot of ways. You're like picking a side, and it's and you can't have it's harder to have an independent voice. I mean you look at Daines, for example. He votes maybe 89% in line with Mitch McConnell, and he votes 92% in line with Trump. And that's not an exact number, but it's like pretty dang close to that.
Yeah, well, I was thinking that why do we pay him at all? We could just have like a monkey that just plays follow, exactly. Whatever they're voting, they just get another yes.
It's really unfortunate, and you see it, and it's like looking at those kind of things that kind of disappoints me a lot, because it's just you don't represent the best interests of Montana, and I think at a certain level that should also translate to the country, that we should have, it should be, as a representative of a state, you should have the best interests of that state, but also with regards to the country. So there should be like, a national aspect to your service, because you are representing the nation in a lot of ways as a representative.
Yeah, and I see that's kind of the design of the Senate, and it's supposed to bring some of the wisdom of Montana and allow our voices to be, on par with the higher density populations. And if you're just going there to represent the interests of like East Coast and big business, it's you're not bringing enough home.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of one of my bigger concerns when it comes to even voting. I mean, both parties are the same. Again, it's you have to fall into line. There's a game that you have to play when you go to Washington, and if you get elected, you're going to see that game, and you're going to have to walk among those same players, and it's kind of just unfortunate that it has to be, and unfortunately, I think it all comes back to how much money goes into politics, how much like one person can have on the say of a whole party, for example, or
Mm-hmm.
everybody that didn't think Trump was a real candidate for the longest time, all of a sudden
Yeah.
had to jump on his train in order to have a job, basically.
Well, I think the Republican Party is scared. So they've got an aging demographic. They've had to do a lot of stoking up of like far right sentiment to try to hold on to a large enough voting bloc to stay reasonably in power. And so corporate interests exist on both sides. And I think that we just need to call that out. Like the establishments are kind of broken.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to do here, though, is change the system. So I think I can get 10.5 million people distributed throughout the country willing to swing left or right that would be focused on the solutions to the problems that we have. And these would be candidates that would kick the money out of politics, stop listening to the voices of the corporations and start making some reasonable decisions as public servants and not as corporate servants, And I think that, so here's my plan.
Okay.
I'm going to put down a bed of content that looks like this, and it's conversations that are directed towards, every style of individual voter in the state, really listen to the process, but it's going to be up to people to pay attention enough to want to change things. So,
cool.
Yeah. So I'm sure that maybe you weren't thinking about it, but there's a lot of people that are disappointed with the Republican Party the way that it exists. And I think that we miss our opportunities to really reinforce our democracy. And we could be reinforcing our democracy with our primary votes. And I think that in Montana, there's an opportunity. So we have an open election, which is supposed to encourage bipartisan candidates. I would consider myself to be one of those, more of I'm a populist centrist, maybe.
Okay.
And then, so I think the vote in Montana, that 20% that went to Trump was an activist vote. I think they saw the establishments just wanting to put their establishment candidates in the race all the time. And a lot of people said, no, we're just going to screw it. We'll throw the system into a spiral and see what happens. And I think that a lot of the politicians like Steve Daines, Gianforte, things like that, they don't understand that people are out here saying, yeah, let's throw them all out, and figure all it out, but maybe when we throw them all out, we have people that are reasonable, thoughtful, and actually care about the solutions, so I'm worried that after Trump, the establishment will just say see, we told you, you can't trust people. So, here's our next candidate. So if you and a few other people like you want to change democracy, I would say that your vote in Montana in the on the primary ballot, the Republican primary ballot, would actually be pretty good. Yeah. And I could recommend a couple of candidates. So we know Gianforte is running, right? Yeah. And I think I would choose Tim Fox over Gianforte, just based off of what I know, how he said. I think that he's got a little bit more experience. He's not the establishment pick, I guess. And then I would choose Joe Dooling over Matt Rosendale for the Senate. And then there's on all the down ballot issues. Of course, I would choose myself over Daines, but on all the down ballot issues, a lot of people need to be aware that there's in the Montana legislature, there's a group of Republicans. They call themselves the Solutions Caucus, right? So they're actually something that I would like to bring to the federal level. So these are a bunch of legislators that sit down, they talk about issues, they're willing to make some smart decisions, smart concessions, and they've been balancing out the far right of the Republican party in the state. And there's some pretty far right voices. So I think that our ballot in November should be a choice between good or better, but we have to be able to sit there and understand the situation and where we allow these better voices to come to the table. So if you could imagine it, if it was, me versus Bullock, that sounds like a better ballot, or Dooling versus either, what is it, Williams or the guy out of Missoula. I mean, those seem like pretty reasonable options as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then if Gianforte retired, I think a lot of people would be happy.
That would be, yeah. Would
Is that how you feel?
Yeah.
But I do plan on representing the Republicans in the state, so I'm not trying to be like crazy, but I think that there's a lot of things that they would agree on.
I mean,
that we could start with that might get some real progress done to help people. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's issues that shouldn't be, partisan at all, and climate change is one of them. And Citizens United abolishing that shouldn't be one of them. Everybody should be, we should represent the people, and we should take care of our future generations. And I don't know, that's kind of.
Yeah, I want to repeal the Patriot Act too, which I think a lot of people are interested in. Establish data rights, so that you actually, have a legitimate data right in this country. I'm pushing something that people I don't think are aware of, but it would be my number one priority. But based off of all the evidence that I've seen, a universal basic income partnered with a value-added tax would be what I'd be proposing. So it'd be $1,000 a month for everybody 18 and over until the time you die. And then it would replace some of the other social safety net programs. Gotcha. So it wouldn't touch Social Security. So you would have, if you were on Social Security, you'd have another $1,000, but it would replace some of the like disability and unemployment and some of the other cash benefits. So it would be opt-in, so people could choose it. So it might help a few things.
Have to look into that for sure.
Yeah. Well, you could just see it in this stimulus package that they just did in the COVID-19. They were investigating doing a universal basic income to start the economy, but then on both sides of the aisle, they just made it a sort of a corporate slush fund and put very few dollars into helping people. So I would say, imagine it like this. We have this huge economic issue, and you just heard, hey, for the rest of the year, you're getting $1,000 a month from the government. Would that make you feel more confident about your financial future?
Oh
yeah, better than it is right now, right?
Yeah.
So, are you eligible for any of the benefits that they've proposed?
I'm not sure. I've looked into it.
Okay, so I think if you file taxes in 2018, I think there's $1,200 that's coming out here shortly.
Okay.
But not eligible for unemployment insurance, are you?
I actually might be.
You might be? Okay, good. Yeah.
Another thing I'd have to look into.
And so are you able to maintain kind of self-isolation and things like that?
Yeah. With a kind of a job that's like a contracting job, basically.
Right. So it's individual. A lot of the contractors here in the Bitterroot Valley have stayed going. So I think that there's some good economies that are still moving.
Yeah. If you can kind of, social distance, if you can, not interact with too many people, which is what I'm doing at work right now. I mean, I'm the only one in the building right now. So it makes sense to keep going, but obviously.
So you're doing general contracting currently, right?
Yeah.
And so your long-term plan is what?
I guess we'll see.
Yeah, it's too hard to look into the future and figure out what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Are you a little anxious about your economic opportunities?
I am. I definitely was. This has been. I mean, again, I'm in an ideal situation for what's going on right now, being able to work one-on-one with somebody and just, work on basic contracting stuff and limit my, my interaction with the outside world as much as possible. So right now it's fine, but, in the future, this is not a job that's going to last forever for me. And I, to be completely honest, I like the idea of going the solar route. I've been doing a little bit of a little more independent contracting for Northstone Solar up here. So I see that could be a future career for sure. So maybe I'm biased in renewable energy and
Well, I think it's a good thing to call out. So these the solar projects, the individual residential solar projects, they're leading to a lot of distributed economy throughout our state, right? So they're providing jobs for people like you know, and they're providing a benefit to the consumer. So yeah, I think it's exactly the type of economic development that you'd want, where it goes all the way through the economy in a pretty reasonable way.
Yeah. No, yeah.
You know what the most popular job in Montana is?
Most popular? No.
Yeah, it's whatever you can find.
Yeah, there you go. Like that. So true.
Yeah. So you've been in the state for how long?
In the state, well, so I was born in Seattle. I moved here when I was 3. So I've
pretty much your whole life. What high school did you go to?
Whitefish High School. Yeah.
Whitefish.
Yeah, coach soccer there, and
you coach soccer?
Yeah, I'm an assistant coach with the high school team there.
How's the team looking?
Oh, they're sick.
They're sick. Yeah. Sick like good, or sick like they're all sick? Okay. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, Whitefish High School soccer team is all sick. Oh no.
No. That's the wrong wording for this. But yeah, they're very good. We've taken a state championship the last 2 years for Class A. Soccer, which has been awesome.
So you must have some pretty good programs that are feeding some skills into that club then, or?
Oh yeah. Well, it's kind of cool. This whole like kind of generation of kids have been born out of like I guess it's the Flathead Rapids. They've been doing camps every summer, and they more recently have been good with doing programs in the fall and in the spring, and just giving kids a place to play year round, because that's kind of what it comes down to. If you want to be a successful soccer player, is you have to have time on the ball, and so all those kids that started that camp and kind of started the organization, I'm 10 years ago maybe, are coming into high school now. So they're all just there's a lot of talent on the team.
Yeah. Really I was surprised with soccer, football, basketball. It really depends on the types of youth sports organizations that are feeding these kids in. It
makes a huge difference to have people that are passionate coaching. Because when I grew up, and I got lucky enough to go play college soccer, and that's
did you?
Pittsburgh, yeah. But when I was growing up, it's your dad, or it's your friend's dad that's coaching the team, and not always were they had any idea of how to play soccer or what strategy was. And so it's kind of a funny thing. But now there's more dads that played soccer in college. There's more just people that are interested in the sport. So there's a lot of good coaches in the valley, and it's translated for sure.
Yeah. So do you think if everybody had like $1,000 a month extra, do you think that soccer signups might go up?
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't checked in, and I don't even think there's going to be a season this spring, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It is. But maybe people are working on their skills in their backyard though. So.
Yeah. I know. Actually, my friend's one of my good friends is the main coach for Columbia Falls High School, the girls team over there, and they're doing the little social media video challenges that do 10 push-ups, or one of them that I got from a college friend was juggle a roll of toilet paper. Like stuff like that, but they're like little soccer drills instead. So you'd have to film yourself going and dribbling through some cones or taking some shots and send it in to the coach, and just to make sure
everybody's kind of staying active with the kids and participating. And so you're going through it together as a soccer community, and something like that. Yeah.
Finding creative ways to, still have fun, still kick the soccer ball around, and still be ready come next fall.
So what do you think the future of U.S. soccer looks like? You think we're going to be how would you say we should develop it?
I mean, it's weird being in a country that has so many sports that are main sports. Like there's just such a huge community of every athletic, culture. But soccer was definitely not a U.S. sport, and I can say like pretty confidently that it is becoming a U.S. sport.
Yeah.
It's crazy how many more people play, how much more competitive like college soccer is than it used to be, and how programs like these local programs, local organizations are really up in the level of skill. And I think in 10 years or whatever, we'll definitely be a national contender on a regular basis, I feel like. But we'll see.
Yeah. What do you feel about the men's team, women's team pay difference?
It's dumb. I don't know. You should be like the team. Don't they bring in more revenue than the men's team?
Yeah, they get more. They get more viewership. They get more titles. All this other stuff. It's
completely bonked. I don't understand it, and honestly, from the outside, it's a little bit sexist to like pay people to do the same thing but completely differently, and it just especially when I guess I could see an argument for if the men's team brought in more revenue, then maybe they should get paid more. But if that's
if that were true, that would make sense. But I don't think I think it definitely shows that we're just still have an issue, a psychological issue with just trying to promote equity.
No, for sure.
Yeah, but soccer is one of those programs that maybe, especially as we find out more about the science of, football and things like that. Like, I think soccer is a pretty healthy activity for kids to be involved in. So
there's still risk. There's going to be risk in every sport, but being able to take out that direct head-to-head contact on a regular basis definitely helps with your mental health.
Yeah, my son played varsity football. Like his last year was this year, and his mom's only like 5 foot, so he ended up in the middle. Super fast, super talented, but man, he would get hit, and I would just be like, "Oh my God, what's gonna happen?" It's a big deal. So I played, but I was a little bit bigger, and then you start to go through the science, and it's just like, wow. I don't know how much of this we should be promoting at a high school athletic level.
No, it's I'm sure more science will come out, and it's just I don't know. I think the biggest thing is it is a cultural sport, and I don't necessarily want to see it go away by any means, but if we can be smarter about it and learn from these past mistakes and develop better technology as far as helmets go and pads and whatever. There's a way to do it right, and I think it's being completely transparent and making sure you address the problems, and I'm sure that translates to politics.
Well, I think the concussion protocols were good and stuff, but I don't want to throw out that's not really my official stance on this. I think that youth sports are actually good. They promote a lot of interaction between adults and children, and they're generally creating like a sense of community and an outlet for some of these frustrations. So I think they're just part of the good things that happen. So
no, I agree with that for sure. I live it pretty recently.
Yeah, you live it. You're doing it. So politics. Anything else that you want to cover?
I don't know. Maybe not on this scale, but. I can say I vote pretty heavily with who's thinking long term. World health more than anything, and I would say I'm socially a little more progressive in a lot of ways as far as individual rights, the right to pick who you are, and some of these. I don't know. As long as you're not.
It sounds like you're dancing around a couple of the Republican narratives as far as coming out against certain groups, promoting, hate or discord that's really, I think, just it's working up voting blocks, and there's no political reason for it, and a lot of it's smokescreen and diversion. And I would like to just cut it out of the conversation, start saying, hey, the words that we use matter, and we should be pushing out a message that, I mean, if you think about it, Abraham Lincoln was a very inspirational person. And, if we return some of those talking points there and really promote the fact that people should be free to be themselves, and that should be supported. And some of these things where they're politicized and nobody's really looking at the depth of the issue. I might get lynched for saying this, but like the bathroom issue within gender, I think that once people, I would advise anybody to just really look into the issue, because you do have these people with very different gender identities, and it creates a lot of problems for them individually. And I think we can all relate and empathize with that. So
I don't know. It's everybody goes through. Everybody has reasons why they are the person they are today.
Right.
And bad people do, good people do, whatever it is. I think the biggest thing is to recognize your own privilege, because in a lot of ways you do not have, you don't have the worst circumstances out there that other people have. And I think it's really important to be okay, for me, I was born in Seattle. I moved to Whitefish to be closer to my grandparents. They've helped out tremendously with my parents, and my living situation, and being able to establish ourselves as locals in this community. And my parents started a frame shop, and I've grown up in basically the most, I don't know, I would say just chill environment to get in. I can go, Glacier National Park's in my backyard, mountain resorts 15 minutes away. I literally have no complaints. And the reason why maybe I can think of some of these issues or have the time to, think about politics even, is because I don't have things that are directly affecting me in my everyday life, like an addiction or a mental health problem, or, having a parent that just didn't like you, or there's so many social dynamics and things that people don't think of if they don't live them. And I think it's really important to see, especially maybe in a transgender kind of light, that this person feels the most comfortable expressing themselves as maybe a different, I don't know what the politically right way to say this is.
We don't even have to call it out, because I think that it doesn't even belong in the public discourse. I think that the way I would see it is that we should all respect each other, and we should all respect that there's certain situations that we all come across. And what you were talking about is kind of beautiful. And I think it's an element of the Montana experience. There's a lot of people that get the time to think about things, that, get to live a little bit differently. Maybe we're not rich, but we're out there living a life that gives us peace and harmony. And I think that, we should promote that more. And I think some of that promotion is just saying it's okay to be you, and when bad things happen, here's something that might help, So it doesn't belong in politics. I think that's more of let's just create a system that's fair for everybody,
fair for everybody. And then I don't know, you can live your life day to day and help people when you can. I don't know.
Just encourage people to be strong members of their community, that's it. All right, man. Well, thanks for taking your time. I guess you've probably got to get back to work, but this has been fun. So
it's really nice to meet you.
What does it mean to be a Democrat or Republican anymore? Who knows? I do know what it means to be establishment or anti-establishment, and definitely I'm anti-establishment. So keep paying attention, keep listening. We'll see if we can do this together. I'm Daniel Larson. Thanks for listening.